Hey guys, welcome back to Monday Matinee. My name is Steven, and today I'm talking about A24's Bring Her Back. The Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael, are back with their sophomore feature. And while it may not have the viral immediacy of Talk to Me, it's a deeply unsettling slow burn that further proves that these two aren't interested in playing it safe. Shot in their home state of South Australia, the film blends folk horror, psychological tension, and pure emotional devastation.
We can bring her back.
It stars Billy Barrett, Sora Wong, and Sally Hawkins in a role that couldn't be further from her cozy Paddington days. Here, she's Laura, a foster mother with a tragic past, a stuffed dog, and just a few minor red flags, like lying about her other foster kids' appearance and enforcing chalk-drawn ritual circles around the house. So the story kicks off with grainy found footage of a ritual, and from there it only gets more unnerving. Siblings Andy and Piper, Piper being visually impaired, are placed with Laura after their father's sudden death. Things spiral as Laura's behavior grows increasingly erratic. Piper begins to bond with her, while Andy sees through the warm facade and starts to unravel a chilling reality. There's a mute boy named Oliver, a plot to resurrect Laura's deceased daughter through ritual, and a disturbing escalation of both physical and psychological horror. I mean, just looking at the crazy stuff from the trailer, you know you're in Philippou territory. So, the cast knocks it out of the park. Billy Barrett and Sora Wong are both emotionally authentic and grounded, especially in the chaotic, grief-stricken world that they're thrust into. Sally Hawkins, though, is the standout. Her portrayal of Laura is both heartbreaking and terrifying. A broken woman clinging to fantasy in the worst possible way. It's a performance that lingers like a nightmare. I'm still thinking about it a couple days later. And as seen in Talk to Me and their Raka Raka YouTube days, the Philippou brothers are masters in their dynamic camera work and practical effects. They've once again teamed up with the Talk to Me cinematographer Aaron Mikuliski, and the results are visceral without being flashy. There's one scene in particular that you probably heard about involving some form of self-mutilation, also some table biting and loose teeth that had the audience buzzing or cringing depending on your threshold of body horror. But the practical effects of course are top tier, capturing that old school horror sensibility that digital can't quite replicate. Combine that with an organically moving camera and the whole film feels immersive, like you're stuck right inside the house with Andy and Piper. And at just 1 hour and 39 minutes, Bring Her Back is tightly edited, but deliberately paced. It's not a scare-a-minute thrill ride. There's only one real jump scare that I can recall, but the dread, that uneasy feeling is constant. It's the kind of movie that you just can't shake. And for some, that will be a turnoff, I'm sure. In fact, a couple left my screening during the first act before it even got to the disturbing stuff. So the movie definitely takes its time, which might test impatient viewers. But the payoff is deeply unnerving, and the emotional themes, grief, loss, and obsession, are handled with a disturbing rawness. If Talk to Me was about letting go, Bring Her Back is about the terrifying lengths people will go to not let go. And yes, it's another entry into the ever-expanding trauma horror subgenre, but it still manages to feel personal. There are echoes of Hereditary in the obsessive mother trope, but the film carves its own path, I think, tying the supernatural to a very human desperation. The horror doesn't just come from demonic possession, it comes from the grief that opens the door for it. And while some may argue that it borders on shock for shock's sake, the Philippous handle the extremes with enough style and emotional grounding to avoid gratuity. It's messy, it's very dark, but really nice in its own grotesque way. So the biggest hurdle here is the pacing. Bring Her Back takes its time laying out the rules and tension, and it won't work for everyone, especially for those expecting the more kinetic energy of Talk to Me. And like I said, the core storyline isn't exactly original either, but the execution is strong enough to rise above the cliche. So for letter grade, Bring Her Back, it's a decent B-. While it's not as tight as Talk to Me, Bring Her Back is still an impressive and deeply unsettling second feature. These brothers can become big voices in modern horror, and it shows they're not afraid to get messy. If you're into slow burn supernatural horror, I think you'll find enough to like here. So, if you like this, be sure to check out The Babadook. It's another Aussie horror gem exploring grief, motherhood, and the thin line between mental illness and the supernatural. Also, you can check out the movie Relic. This is a slow, haunting meditation on familial loss and dementia wrapped up in eerie imagery and unsettling mood. Think Bring Her Back with even more subtle dread. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. If you watch this, drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more content and see you on the next one.